A recording of the seminar of the Alberta branch of the Federal Social Credit Rally held on March 8, 1971. The speaker, Mr. Wallace Klink.
Ladies and gentlemen, first I'd like to say I'm very grateful to talk to you tonight about something that I feel is very important. I'm going to say some rather unconventional things tonight, and in view of that, I was going to give you a definition of the words leisure and work, which will come up quite frequently. However, the speaker that is to follow me is apparently going to deal with this subject, so I will just let you think about it as I go along. Social creditors are convinced that the world is now witnessing a rapid disintegration of civilization. They also believe that implementation of social credit policies would quickly reverse this trend and open the gates to a new renaissance for mankind. Those who have become deeply involved in social credit activities have come to realize, however, that two major obstacles have inhibited widespread acceptance of the social credit thesis. Social credit is admittedly a difficult subject to master, so that we see one of these difficulties or obstacles is obviously on the intellectual plane. But it is not, I believe, on the intellectual level that the greatest barrier to the realization of social credit philosophy and policy lies. The purpose of my address this evening is to shed some light on these two problem areas, especially the latter, that is, the psychological. I have chosen the topic social credit, unemployment, and leisure because it is in these areas that a decisive breakthrough in understanding must come if the doctrine of social credit is to be finally released to have its full impact on society. The late Clifford Hugh Douglas, Scottish engineer and founder of the social credit movement, once asked the question, "What are we, social creditors, aiming at?" In answer to his own question, he said, "We are endeavoring to bring to birth a new civilization. We are doing something which really extends far beyond the confines of a change in the financial system. We are hoping by various means, chiefly financial, to enable the human community to definitely step out of one type of civilization into another type of civilization. And the first and basic requirement, as we see it, of that is absolute economic security." Now, Major Douglas's statement suggests that social credit is a far-reaching and novel exposition designed to bring profound changes in society. Indeed it is, being diametrically opposed to the central economic premises and ethical or moral position which constitute the foundation of the present world system as it exists from the United States of America to the Soviet Union. Douglas stressed repeatedly that the world is today engaged in a gigantic struggle between two opposing philosophical systems. One system in the ascendant at the present time works toward centralization of power and subjection of the individual through economic and political means to the group, or in reality to the elite core which controls the group. Social credit stands as the suppressed alternative or opposite policy and aims toward emancipation of the individual from the group through decentralization of economic and political power. Whereas the policy of the existing world system is to control men through denial of their rightful inheritance, social credit would grant men the increasing right to choose or refuse one thing at a time by restoring to them the inheritance that they have lost, one might say literally, for a mess of pottage. Now, Douglas believed that the fate of civilization depended upon the outcome of this great philosophical conflict. He warned repeatedly that if civilization is to be saved, men must understand that all policies can be traced back to their respective philosophies. Only by learning to effectively identify the philosophical pedigree of the many ostensibly disparate policies impinging upon them can men devise effective strategies to reverse the present disastrous trends which afflict society. If social creditors are eventually to succeed in saving civilization from an eclipse or from a new dark age, they must clearly understand that the major world problem manifests itself in a need to choose resolutely between two opposite, conflicting, and incompatible policies, that of full employment and leisure. Let us be entirely clear about one thing. Social credit proclaims the leisure society. It is implacably and relentlessly at war with all measures designed by policy to create full employment. Social creditors realize that in a world so thoroughly brainwashed by a perverse and nearly all-pervading Puritanism into accepting economic activity as the chief purpose of man and economic slavery as a normal condition, opposition to the universally accepted policy of full employment is so unique and startling an approach as to immediately arouse all manner of objections and doubts. Only through perseverance and a genuine open will to learn can the individual mind overcome and dissipate such objections and doubts. Although partly intellectual, the problem is primarily a psychological, moral, or spiritual one. And until men are able to conquer it, there can be little hope for a better world. As Douglas so aptly put it, society has been hypnotized, and only a drastic dehypnotization can save it. This is taken from an essay written in the Social Creditors, December the 15th, 1945, entitled Under Which King? Now, Major Douglas's works provide the means of dehypnotization for those who will hear. In his Swanwick address, delivered in November of 1924, he provided the essential insights. Quote, "The policy of the world economic system amounts to a philosophy of life. There are really only three alternative policies in respect to a world economic organization. The first is that it is an end in itself for which man exists. The second is that while not an end in itself, it is the most powerful means of constraining the individual to do the things he does not wish to do. That is, it is a system of government and implies a fixed idea of what the world ought to be. And the third is that economic activity is simply a functional activity of men and women in the world, and that the end of man, while unknown, is something towards which most rapid progress is made by the free expansion of individuality, and that therefore economic organization is most efficient when it most easily and rapidly supplies economic wants without encroaching on other activities." End of quote. In his first book, Economic Democracy, published first in 1920, Douglas had already specified the task of social credit. "It is suggested," he wrote, "that the primary requisite is to obtain, in the readjustment of the economic and political structure, such control of initiative that by its exercise every individual can avail himself of the benefits of science and mechanism, that by their aid he is placed in such a position of advantage that in common with his fellows he can choose, with increasing freedom and complete independence, whether he will or not assist in any project that may be put before him." Thus was the foundation upon which Major Douglas erected his policies in the realm of political and social economy. During the First World War, Douglas had discovered in the price system a major flaw, which he demonstrated would increase with the advance of technology. He warned that this flaw would gradually erode the stability of society by creating intensifying internal pressures upon the economic and social system. Indeed, if left unrecognized and allowed to continue, it would be the time bomb that would eventually destroy civilization. By creating anarchical conditions, it would submerge man into a new dark age by compelling them to accept as their only salvation the imposition of a world tyranny. Now, Douglas outlined with precision the necessary steps to avert this disaster. His counsel was ignored, and so we find ourselves, after a series of booms and depressions, and a second and de facto continuing world war. We've had a world war most of this century. In just different phases of it, that's all. In the present rapidly deteriorating situation, centralization of power is continuing apace. The individual is becoming more and more the victim of economic, political, and social forces that he cannot understand, and which threaten his sense of security in a world which seems paradoxically